It's happened to me more than once. Sure. Hey man, I hear you. Hey guys. Yeah, hey, the homebrew scene, the beer judging and competition thing, pretty seriously as I got into the hobby, and that was kind of what led to me getting my foot in the door on the pro side. But doing this is cool for me. This has feelings of I was an early Brewing Network guy. I would listen to the Sunday session, and that was like a few hour show that tended to have kind of the upfront guest, and then I think they called it the meltdown back then, if there was anybody that was kind of watching back then. But yeah, where they'd just hang out and have beers and whatnot. So, but yeah, that's a little bit about me. And then
Hello.
I started.
I think
You good?
I think I'm here now. I think we're cooking with grease.
Nice.
Just keep it rolling. Yeast and the Beast, Walt Longmire. There's a 10-second delay on this, so
No worries, man. So I'm not supposed to see a chat, right? Because I don't see a chat. Is that cool?
okay. Yeah, I'm here now. So you could pull this up in YouTube, and you'll be able to see the chat. And we're 10 seconds ahead of that going live on YouTube.
Okay.
So if you have another monitor, or another computer or something next to you, or even a phone, you can go ahead and pull that up, and you can see what's going on, because people are gonna have a lot of questions, and we'll shoot the shit. And I don't know if something catches your mind. You don't think like you have to answer every question. You might get tagged in something. Audio loud and maybe clear, maybe turn. Tad down on CH. Good looking out. See, these guys help produce. This is number 3.
There you go.
We'll get there, guys. I promise. What about now? It usually takes like 10 minutes. We've got 25 people in here, though. 4 minutes, though. What's up, everybody? What's up, Blackwood Brews?
There you go. I got the chat going.
We'll get there, guys. I promise. Check one. New York, unique. What about now? Great sound. Wall long. It takes like 10 minutes. We've got 25 people in here, though. 4 minutes, though. What's up, everybody? What's up, Blackwood Brews? Yeah, mine was way louder on the Brewlosophy one, too. I didn't like hearing that. 1 sec. I got to go back here for my mixer. Check one. New York, unique. Great sound. Wall long. Okay, I think we're good. That was it. We're back here. What's up, James Churchill? Adam, you got the chat lined up?
Yeah, man, I can see it.
Okay. All right. Adam Mills out there. He's been brewing for 10 years. And tell us about the Brewing Network back in the day for those who remember.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was how I really started learning stuff. I mean, I was fortunate when I started homebrewing. I had a long commute back then. I had to drive anywhere between 2 and 3 hours, depending on the weather back then for my job. And that was when Brewing Network started popping off. It was kind of like mid 2000s, and they're posting, interviews with Vinny Cilerzo and Matt Brynelson and all these, baller ass brewers and everything, and they're just telling you, they're just telling you and showing you everything they do. And so, I mean, that was where I learned. I mean, still, I mean, the super majority. Obviously, you're figuring new things out here every day. A little tartness there.
Yeah,
Is that a little?
apple cider vinegar. We're doing a sober stream tonight. I just figured I was due for a sober stream. Why aren't you drinking tonight, Adam?
Oh, because I just don't want to.
It's just midweek and you're getting up at 5 in the morning.
It's midweek. I'm up at 5 in the morning. Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
what time you?
absolutely. And
Sorry, what's up?
yeah, man. Usually I get up at about 5. If I'm being smart, I'm getting up at 5, and I usually try to like. Or I'm 45, and so like it's still manual labor. So like I try to like stretch and stuff in the morning and try to do like a little bit of work to keep the body ticking, because I mean it's as I don't know, man. It's physical. It's manual labor.
Yeah, and the older
So
you
if
get,
you want to
the
keep doing
yeah,
it, right,
right. So what time do you guys
yeah.
start brewing over there? Are you mashing in at like
We're
7
usually
a.m.?
yeah we usually get in at 7 and get jumping. Yeah,
How many
yeah.
people do you have over there in the back of the house?
Right now, just me and my assistant Josh. And to be honest, I've been the last couple of years. I've just been really fortunate, man. I've
Good
just had
team.
killer team members. Yeah, man, it's the best. It's the
Good,
best.
man.
You
Good.
can't beat that, man. You
No,
can't beat that.
no. I mean, and good employees are very hard to find. I don't care if it's front of the house, back of the house, or people cleaning toilets or whatever. There's a lot of bad employees out there. So that's good. You have a
Well, and
lot
I
of.
tell you, yeah, and then even on top of it too, like like just like a good guy too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
pleasure to
like
be
we
around.
get along, and we just have fun, man. So
Well,
get back
good.
there and do the thing. Yeah.
How long's your right hand production guy been with you?
Well, Cartridge opened in the middle of the pandemic, so October of 2020, and then he came on the summer after that.
Okay.
Summer after that. So he was actually green, man. He actually has a got his master's in agricultural engineering,
Mm.
agricultural education from like Montana State or something, and then came back to Ohio and didn't want to get into the field, and so I scooped him up, and I'm super lucky, man. Super smart kid, hard worker.
You hired him.
Yeah, yeah,
Are
yeah.
you part owner at Cartridge, or you
No,
nothing
no,
like
no,
that?
no, no,
No.
no. Just the head brewer.
So how'd you get the job? And was it a ballsy move trying to get into this commercial brewery during COVID?
Well, I mean, it was a ballsy move for me, man. My wife and I, we got married a while back, 2001, and then we bought a house and we lived in it for like almost 20 years and didn't do it. We never moved or anything, and so I'm actually from northern Michigan originally, and
Mm.
so the move to Cincinnati was a big deal. We have 6 kids,
You
so
do?
it's not. Yeah, 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 man.
Whoa. Hey
Uh,
now. Now I know why you're up at 5 in the morning. Cheers to you, man.
uh, you know.
What were you doing before you were brewing?
I taught at-risk kids for the first 10 years of my career.
Okay, like a brewlosophy thing, like
Uh,
a psychologist.
no, I was a history teacher for kids that were like court ordered and like expelled
Oh,
out of their original schools. Yeah.
well, good for you. And then you kind of just hit your threshold with it, or you're like, I got to follow beer. Beer's always been my passion. One day I want to open
Well,
up a brewery. I'm a home brewer.
and that was kind of yeah. So I was homebrewing and was really heavily into that. And for me, homebrewing was a little. I'm a little intense and like a little competitive. So I found out that, I can make beer, which is obviously there's that novelty, right? And then I found out I can judge and compete. And I'm naturally a competitive guy, especially as a younger man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started getting involved in that. And so really after like the first half year of homebrewing, I was really only brewing for competition. So I would brew, bottle an entire batch, put it in the basement, and like so I would enter like between like 20 and like 35 beers in competitions because I was really just brewing to try to win medals.
I don't do competitions just because I don't think it would mean anything for me. Like if I won or lost, I don't think it would really kind of
Sure,
get me anywhere. I don't have a plan of being a commercial brewery, let alone opening up a brewery. So I'm
sure.
not honing in recipes. But Sarah Flora loves the competition. And I do think it's going to
Yeah,
force you to make better beer. So I do think it's a good idea, but I just don't know because I have seen competitions in San Diego where like the judges were kind of drunk and it was kind of political. And I don't think it was
sure.
organic at all on how who was getting the blue ribbon or the second place or
Yeah,
whatnot. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, my advice would be do competitions and find the competitions that have the most credibility. But again, I don't.
sure.
What's your advice on homebrewing competitions?
My thought on competition is, I mean, for me, it was, I don't know, it was just like an unhealthy thing. Like I was trying to prove something to somebody, probably me. I mean, that was really, I wanted to prove that I could be good at something. And as far as the whole competition thing goes, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where if I don't know if there's as many homebrew competitions as there used to be, but there used to be some that were better than others, right? Like
For
where you
sure.
knew you're going to be getting better feedback, and you kind of knew the people that were organizing and what they expected out of their judges and whatnot.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of what I would seek out. And for me at that point, I was still brewing just everything straight out of the book Brewing Classic Style. So that Jamil Zaina Chef John Palmer recipe book, that was I was just churning out just different recipes out of that, and how that book really ended up benefiting me was it taught me what ingredients taste like, man. You know what I mean? And stylistically, for still even still, a lot of the beers recipes in that book will get you very very close,
Hmm.
stylistically with what's going on. And then so really brewing those beers, it really taught me what the raw materials do, right? What the ingredients do. So I think that was the big plus for me, right? And yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I think that's where it kind of comes from. You can take it with a grain of salt. I treat it the same way as I do pro competitions. Um, I mean, GABF World Beer Cup, you can get weird stuff coming back from those. You can have three judges look at an amber lager. Two of them say that it's fantastic, and one person says it's completely sour. Well,
So
that's
if there were,
probably not the reality of the situation. Like somebody's wrong in that scenario, right?
yeah, and I know the GABF guys, they have to take it very serious. They're not allowed to eat food. They can't smoke cigarettes that day. They're not allowed to get drunk. They've got to eat saltine crackers or something that's going to pull, residual taste out of their mouth. Is there a homebrew competition out there that is like the GABF? Is there a tournament or a name that you would drop where like, hey, this is the most reliable source, meaning they pretty much have the most reliable judges?
Yeah, that's a good question because sometimes the bigger competitions it's harder to get a volume of good judges too, right? And I'm a little bit out of the scene. It's been a while since I had, but I mean, I would always rely on the big goals for me were nationals. There were some bigger competitions in Michigan. We had a pretty well developed homebrewing scene, competition scene back in the mid 2000s into the 2000 teens. Like I mean, we had comps where like the Michigan Beer Cup would have like 800-900 beers in it. So it
Yeah.
wasn't what they weren't small comps, right? But
Yeah. And,
yeah.
and how many judges do you have? I mean, how many
Oh,
guys do you
we
have
would have a
circling
fleet.
through? Yeah. I
We
mean, you'd have to have
we
a
would have
couple
a fleet
dozen.
and do multiple days. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do they,
You have like 30, 40 judges, and it's like a 2-day judging, and yeah, a morning session, an afternoon session. Yeah,
do you think
yeah.
your
Because you have
beer?
to spread it out, man.
Oh, for sure. And do you think your beers, like, are the people like naming their beers and does it kind of get branded even in the homebrew world? Like, is there a Pliny the Elder out there that's not commercially, or there's somebody that wins this national homebrew competition and they'll give it a name and now people are Googling it?
Yeah, and again, I'm a little removed from the scene. I mean, back in the day when I was
There
doing it,
was
there was.
more. It seemed more popular when I first got into it, for sure.
Yeah, and well, like because so originally, like they used to have an Ninkasi award, right, for the most award-winning brewer and nationals, and it was Jamil Zainasheff, and then it was Gordon Strong, like won a few in a row and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure like where that's at today.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jamil, who ended up opening Heretic. I mean, he did a show on the BN called Brewing with Style. Well, it was Jamil's show, but it was Brewing with Style, where he would go through all these recipes and just explain how he brewed them and why he brewed them that way.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I still lean on so much of that stuff. It was super formative for me. Yeah.
I like that. And for those who are here right now, we got 52 people. This is Adam Mills out there in Cincinnati, Ohio with Cartridge Brewing. Do you guys distribute? Would we see your beers outside the Midwest or outside?
Not outside of Ohio right now.
Not outside of Ohio right now. How big's your system?
We have a 15 barrel steam heated brew house.
Okay. So what does that mean?
So like 15 barrels. So like 30 half barrels.
Right. What does the
At
steam
end of
part
the day.
mean though? Like I know people have tried to do
It's
the.
just steam heated. You can have direct fire, like a direct fire heated system, or steam jackets around the outside.
Okay.
I was just referencing how the brew house was heated. Direct fire can sometimes bring like potentially some color formation to your work, where steam happens to be like a little bit more even and gentle.
Okay. Easier on the stuff
As a
hanging
means
out at
of
the
heating.
bottom. Yeah.
Yep.
So 15 barrels though, that's pretty big. You guys are only what do you guys do? 4-pack, 6-packs? I'd imagine not too many people are doing
Yeah,
bottles.
kind of in house right now. We're doing like 16-ounce 4-packs, kind of as to go beer in house. We do have some accounts that will carry our cans, and then we're distributed in draft around the Cincinnati, Dayton area.
Do you have your own canning machine or do you guys use third party?
Yeah, we have a little bitty boy. We have one of those American canners, the little AT1. It's just a little one head filler.
Okay.
It's the nice thing about it is it takes one person to run. And we can can off kegs as well as bright tank, so it has some versatility there for us. We don't have to have the beer in the bright tank in order to be able to can it.
And for those who don't know, and I really don't know, but I would imagine the canning game pretty much comes down to how much like revolutions per minute, or how many beers can you do per minute, or 4-packs.
Yeah, and so it's usually like a number of heads, like a number head filler, right? So there's a single head filler. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you guys open with that, or was that like a thing that came along after you guys opened for COVID?
That was an add-on. We had a larger like 4-head filler. It just took so many people to operate. It was really kind of a COVID insurance thing too. That larger filler, because back then it was like, well, okay, so if we get open and then we get shut down again, we have to be able to put beer into package to be able to sell and can.
Right.
The main goal is to pour beer in the tap room.
Right. That's where your margins are the
yeah.
best. What up, everybody? I'm looking at the brew show in here. We got right into it. But big shout out to everybody who put out content this week. I just watched a kombucha short from the brew show. What up, Trent? I see you, baby. And then I watched the video with you and Hops and Gnarly. How was that?
That was cool, man.
I didn't know he went so far. I didn't know it was a road trip too. Denver to Cincinnati. What is that, 10 hours? He said it was 2 days.
Oh, yeah, I think he maybe said it was closer to 20. I don't know.
Shit. Okay, yeah. I mean,
I think he said halfway. I think he stopped like halfway, and it was maybe like 10 or 12. But yeah. So, but no, it was super cool. It was super cool, and it's cool to see how different people like do it too, right? Like for me, everything's quick and dirty. I'm recording on an iPhone. I have a $50 lav mic off of YouTube.
Going to the phone.
Yeah, going to the phone.
Okay.
And then, like, quite honestly, like, I mean, I'll be real. Like my content is not like beautiful. It doesn't sound great or necessarily look great. But like, the main thing is when I was trying to get into the industry, it was difficult to have like somebody just kind of welcome me in and like let me help out and learn the ropes a little
Yeah.
bit. And what I want to be doing with this channel is there's not a ton of pros that are doing the content side of things, and I don't want to do it from the angle of like, oh, like I've got all this shit figured out. Like that's not why I'm saying I'm a professional, right? I'm mentioning it and stuff because it's like there's not a ton of pros doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can kind of give a behind the scenes, if there's an entertainment factor, like a niche factor like that, but then also for people that are thinking about getting into the industry, I want people to be able to see what it is, and I'll do anything from, tutorial stuff like how I clean tanks, to different techniques, to full brew days, Q&A type stuff. But yeah, I don't know. First of all, I love doing it. It scratches an itch for teaching. That when I left teaching, I haven't really had that going on. But yeah, I just started beginning a 2022 recording. A dear friend of mine, Andy, helped me get things off the ground. He's done a lot of the initial editing for me on stuff, but then he got sick recently, and so I've been editing, and you just learn as you go, and you keep trying to pop out informative content.
But I think it's a great idea, and I think that you're onto something, because I'm seeing breweries do that right now. Like Tailgate's doing it. My buddy sent me a video to Tailgate. I was in Nashville. Where did we go? Instead of Googling stuff or Yelp, we went to the brewery who we saw their YouTube content. Now Treehouse is doing it. Now other breweries are doing it.
I saw that too, yeah.
I think that the Instagram game is not up, but it's just so, if everybody in San Diego is posting their beer on the beach with the sunset in the background, you're all the same account. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all just the same account.
Yeah.
How many cool things can you do with stills anymore? Not much.
Yeah.
But commercial breweries pushing YouTube accounts, I think it's the next, I wouldn't go as far as saying like trend, because it's kind of like a job. It's kind of a tactic. But
Sure.
I think that it's going to bring commercial breweries a lot more exposure. And
Sure.
The guys that are in the Tailgate videos, the owner, he's kind of an asshole in that. And I think it's cool. He's just like, hey, you really want to open up a brewery? You want to know what my life's been? It's been a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I love beer. And then he goes
Sure.
back, and here's
Yeah.
is where we started. And now they're big and they're huge. I'm gonna bet that we're gonna see a lot more commercial breweries doing what you're doing what Treehouse is doing in Rhode Island or Massachusetts. Tailgate, shout out to them for pushing a YouTube channel in Nashville. And even like, I don't know how the TikTok stuff works, but even doing reels or video content for commercial breweries on Instagram, it's just so much more engaging than a picture on Facebook or a San Diego brewery with another ocean beach picture. We get it. Yeah.
Well, and that was the thing. Like I was watching some videos the end of 2021, and in this one video, this guy was like, he's like, listen, like if you're passionate about something, you don't mind like explaining it to people. Like it doesn't even matter what your industry is. Like he said, just start making content. You know what I mean? Because there can be value to it. You know what I mean?
And and anybody who is in here that doesn't put out content, that's part of the majority of people, it's a lot more work. It's a lot more work to put out video content. You're talking about, and I was just talking to Kyle from Clawhammer, who shot a video with Dissolver last week. And he was like, dude, I can't do audio on set anymore. There's generators. The fridge is going off. The compressor now. It's almost impossible to get audio. As the head brewer, you've got your time. When this is going to kick on and when we're done or when we have some downtime. And we can start filming right then and there. But I remember when I first started shooting Homebrew for Life videos, I would go to breweries and showcase the owners and talk about what were they doing before this? How long did it take to get going? How much money did you need? Have you quit your day job yet? And we had to stop and go with everything going off, or now that we're open and it's loud, and now the refrigerator just kicked on. And it's like, shit, there's a lot of work involved in this. And I don't even know that. I don't even know that because I brew from home where it's peaceful and all I have to worry about is the train going by or the plane going by.
Sure.
But other than that, you have a whole other reality than us homebrewers have. You're brewing
Yeah.
on site. You're filming on site.
Yeah, yeah. So and it really is, and I mean, so far people have been like, people always say like when you start doing stuff, you're gonna receive negativity, and you do get some, but I mean, people have just been super positive, man, and really what I try to do is, and I do try to emphasize this over and over again, like when I did a series on brewing IPA, I didn't say this is how you brew IPA. I said, this is how I'm brewing
I do it.
IPA right now,
How we're
based
doing.
off
Yeah.
of this research. This is what I'm doing right now.
Sure.
And my mom always says to me, she's a sweet lady. She's like, well, honey, but aren't you worried about, like if you're telling people what you're doing with your recipes? And I'm like, Ma, I said, first of all, I'm probably making it different the next time I brew it anyways. Like we're always chasing. Like
Sure.
there's very few beers that I'm doing. Like okay, so like the one of the most simple beers that I make is our Munich Helles. The grain bill on that doesn't change a lot. What I am turning dials on with that is water profile and fermentation profile, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a real fine point beer. But even that we're still manipulating variables, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we're always trying to get better. So I never want to like talk from like this authority standpoint of saying I have all these things figured out, but really it's just like it's almost as much my path as a brewer, right? Of what I'm learning and what I can share. Because ultimately, and being a former history teacher, like I have a tremendous amount of passion for like the cultural place of beer, man. I think it's I think it's an important thing. To me, it's like food. It's a way to share. It's the way to love people. My mom's side of the family is all Italian, and they love with food, and so that I think I kind of caught some of that bug
I like
with
that.
the way that I feel about beer.
And two things with that. And Brulosophy was talking about this on the last week's stream. He said, you give the same person or the same 10 different people the same recipe, like it's going to come out different. And two,
Sure.
you want those recipes on the internet. When I first started brewing, it was like, let's make the Sculpin clone. Let's find Deschutes' clone. We're not going to figure out their water profile, but we could at least buy the grain and the hops and maybe the yeast. It's some direction. And if you make that beer and it's good, and we used to do blind taste contests with it, you're probably going to buy a lot of that beer. So it's a great way to promote that certain style, whatever you got going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you put your...
No, I completely agree.
Do you have your website, or do you have your ingredients on your website, or is it just not there?
So what I do
Cartridges.
is at the end of every brew day series video or series, I do a tasting where I sit down and I give full percentages, IBUs, hop additions, fermentation profile, and everything like that. So for every brew day that I do, there's a full recipe breakdown for it.
And you don't want to own a brewery? You're happy where you're at right now? You have no in the back. You
man,
told
like
me you told me I could ask you any question. And
hell
generally,
yeah, you can.
generally
Absolutely.
the question people don't
Absolutely.
want to ask is like, we're kind of opening up a brewery, but we're not ready to talk about it yet. But it's all. I mean, it's always in the back of everybody's minds, but it's definitely got to be in the back of your mind because you've seen the outside of the brewing process. You know how much your fermenters cost. You know how much you guys do in sales in a day.
Sure.
Do you have food there? Is there a kitchen?
Yes. Yeah, they have a full kitchen. Yeah.
You know the ins and outs of this, so it'd be way smarter for somebody like you than somebody like me to be like, let's just take this and move it to another city, change a little bit up a little bit, and now let's go. Let's rock and roll. Maybe I know some investors.
Sure.
Maybe I don't want that.
And I think that and I think the big picture is like the challenge with it is, and people say the same thing with going from home brewing to brewing professionally. Like why do you want to ruin a hobby,
Right.
a great hobby? Like right now, like you can almost look at it from the brewer's standpoint too, of saying, listen, I love brewing, I love making beer, getting paid to make beer. Why do I want to ruin it by opening a brewery, not being able to make my beer anymore because now I'm a business owner? You know what I mean? So because honestly, like most guys that end up saying that they're going to open a brewery, that they don't end up brewing the beer for long. You know what I mean? Usually they end up finding themselves much more as somebody that's quite frankly running a restaurant as opposed to being a brewer. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody's thought about it. I'm not in the place for it right now. And yeah, I'm in a good spot right now, and things are good. And plus, I've got, like I said, I got a bunch of kids, and I got some young ones too. So
Right.
I'm aware of I'm aware
The
of the
gamble.
time it takes.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, like for me doing the YouTube thing, like, so from a creative outlet standpoint, I already talked about what I like about that, but also like it's a little bit of like creating, you know, some career stability for me too, right? Because when I was teaching, man, I was tenured, and I would have had to break the law to get fired.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And as a brewer, and in a lot of other fields, you need to create your own stability, right? And so not the content creation does that for me as well,
Mm.
right? Where it's a little bit of an online resume. It can create like, but it can create opportunities for the brewery that I work with too. You know, if things go well with your channel, you know, you can potentially parlay some nice stuff with
Yeah.
suppliers and whatnot. So
Yeah, definitely a good community, you know, good networking nonetheless. Want to give a quick shout out to Northwest, always showing love. He just gifted 5 memberships, man. Thank you. Much love out there, brother. Yeah, you know, the YouTube thing, you know, first and foremost, it's just a creative outlet, you know, like there's self-expression. And you talked about when you first make videos and it's cringe, and then you look back at your old stuff and you're thinking, I always look back at my videos, like look back 5 years ago. I can't even watch them unless I'm 20 beers deep. I can't watch them because you and I talked to the Brew Show about this. Like you went straight on to like showing your face and your voice and stuff like that. A lot of people start with
yeah,
voiceover. You know, hey, let's just
yeah,
like get our voice out there, and then I got my shitty face and my white grays coming through, and I brushed my teeth today. Like fuck. Um, but you're always like you make a video, anybody in here, and you're proud of it. I guarantee you, in a year from now, you're gonna look back and you're gonna be like, I can't believe I put that on the internet. So hopefully,
yeah.
the content people are putting out now, I mean, it's just it's gonna get better or less cringy. I don't know if there's like a balance of
Sure,
that, but
sure.
yeah. And you know, I talked to Adam about this before he came on. We've talked through Facebook for a little bit now, and you asked me maybe a couple months ago, like, hey, like, can I come on and this and that? And I was like, I want you to withstand the test of time a little bit, because a lot of guys come in to this content creation stuff. They'll make a couple videos, whether it didn't go viral or whether it took way too much time, they're out, you know.
Sure.
But you're consistently putting out content, and you do it the way I kind of do it, but you do it on the same channel, right? Like I'll chop
Yeah,
this
it's
up.
all one
It's
channel.
all one
Yep,
channel.
yep.
And link in the bio. Check out Adam Makes Beer. There should be a clickable link in the title and in the description. Go give him a sub, or we're gonna know. You know, we'll show up at your houses with 20 dudes. And I kept them separate, you know, because I like this
Sure,
and I could chop this up. And then when I'm doing grain and glass stuff, I'll put that on Homebrew for Life. You know, so I did
sure.
a bucket video a week ago or 2 weeks ago, just talking about a survey that I made of what people are buying nowadays. And it was like plastic and a lot of Firmzilla. And I just made a video on that. And it did
Yeah.
very well. It got like #1. You know how YouTube Studio
Mm-hmm.
shows you how to like compete with yourself in your top 10.
Yeah.
I chopped up a Brewlosophy clip and talked about like his day job. And he's a psychologist. I put it on Homebrew for Life, which I shouldn't have. 10 out of 10, 3 grays, thumbs down. So I was like, you know, I got to keep these separate. But I did want to put that video on that channel to promote him and Martin's new channel coming up in February. So
Sure.
I knew it was going to bomb, but it was still going to get more
Yeah.
shine than if I were to put it on
Yeah.
the Hoppy Hour. But
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
yeah, and you can't just do a grain to glass video every single day or week.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Yeah.
even if you're
Yeah.
live streaming it, you can't do that. Like I talked to Brian from
Yeah.
Short Circuited, he like 5 hours of being on the camera and you know you're drinking and you're entertaining. It's a lot, you know. And I've never even done a live stream.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Absolutely.
You do the live streams.
Yeah, I do a monthly live stream where I just take Q&A, live Q&A. Some I'll collect ahead of time. So I have some, you know, I have some in the magazine or whatnot, and then I'll take some live as well. We usually go for about 2 hours. We have our little regular crew for that.
I don't know
And
if you see
yeah, that's
somebody in here.
like,
You might see some of those people in here.
yeah,
I don't know if
probably.
you're still looking
Uh,
at the chat or not, but
Party
party
time is one of
time.
my guys that's on that side. Yeah,
He put
yeah.
out some content too. I haven't looked at that yet, but shout out to Party Time for putting out a double IPA video that I have that in the QA. What up, Pre-Yuck? What up, Shauna Kella? What up, Ricky Nielsen? What up, everybody? What's a good sub for biscuit malt? Caramel, low, anything on my ends. What's your answer?
Yeah, I think so.
What up,
For
Ron Barnes?
biscuit, sometimes people even say like maybe aromatic sometimes a little bit. That might be something that might give you a little something in that range.
Yeah, and let us know what you're drinking. Me and Adam we're being good boys tonight. He gets up at 5 in the morning.
Clean living.
I just need a sober stream. I haven't done one in a long time. I don't know if they're better or worse when we're blacked out and hitting the NBC button. But this is cool. This is cool. We were able to get this one up and running in about 5 minutes. Nothing too crazy going on. And we got 76 people here. So we should get a couple subs that go over to Adam's channel. It actually says 82 on the YouTube side. So back to the.
So how did you get into this, man? I'm interested about you. How'd you get in on this stuff?
So I started homebrewing back in probably 2014, 2015, and I had a buddy from growing up that was working at a homebrew store. And this was back when the homebrew stores in San Diego were really nice. Like everybody had at least 20 or 30 malts. Everybody had, I remember White Labs was the big one. Like if you had liquid yeast, you had it going on back at that time. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember like Imperial or Y Yeast or Omega. And like this sucks to say, but this is almost 10 years ago. You know, it's 2023 now. And I remember I had a buddy who was always a stoner. He was always like growing the good weed, and he got into beer. And he told me he's like thinking about opening up a brewery, and he does open a brewery now. It's called Battle Mage in Vista. Small place, great beer. And I don't know if it was an ego thing or a jealousy thing, but I remember, and I always liked this guy. We had a great relationship. He's kind of a little bit more on the introverted side. I was kind of more on the shithead side. And I just remember thinking like, there's no way this dude is going to open up a brewery or get involved in beer, and I'm not. So like right then and there, I don't even know what job I had at that time, but I bought a $200 system. It was the one extract that came with, I think it had a bucket, a glass carboy, all the canning stuff, bottle caps, brushes and stuff like that. And I remember I brought it home. I was living in Lake San Marcos at the time, and I just was like looking at it. I was like sitting there and I was looking at it. I was like, I'm never going to use this. Like I probably bought it. I had a couple beers and I bought it, and I was looking, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to use this. And he would come over and help me out. So it became real. So like, hey, this guy's teaching me how to brew. So the learning curve just got a lot less difficult. And we're hanging out. Sure. And he would bring over beers that he was winning at San Diego beer competitions, and it would be like banana muffin brown and all this stuff. And I'm always a firm believer, for beer tastes like how it's described, it's a great beer. Sure. I don't need this 6.7. You look at beer 4 different ways, in my opinion. You look at it, you smell it, you taste it, and then you set it down and you look at the description or the label or the can. Did it do all those things how it was described? That's the way I looked at beer. And we were making some batches, and like after my third video, I was like, you know what? I was making websites at the time, so I had like a Costco Canon Rebel TI camera that shot video, even though I had no idea what was going on. And I bought a tripod, and like, let's film a couple of these brew days. And it was back in the day, like the algorithm now is like, you want that 8-minute video because you get that mid ad. But back in the day, you could put out like 20-minute videos, and they would get in the search results a little bit. Not a lot of people click on 20-minute videos now, unless it's a live brew day or something. So my strategy was to remember playlists were kind of big on YouTube. Like you could have 5 2-minute videos. So I would chop the videos up into that. So instead of saying like how to all grain brew, it would be like how to all grain brew, and like step 1 would be like sanitize. Step 2 would be like clean your carboy.
Yeah.
Step 3 would be
Yep.
how to cool stuff down or whatever. And some of those videos got a little bit of shine at that time. And then from there, I was like, this is just taking way too long to put out content. I can't brew, ferment, film, edit, and then just put something out on YouTube once a month. Like, it's just not even worth having a YouTube channel at that time. And at that time, I was like, oh, my channel's going to get 1 million subscribers and all that stuff. And I didn't know that homebrewing is just, it's just a small, we don't have the viewership that cooking channels do, or CrossFit.
Yeah, and it's a niche of a niche too.
It's a niche of a niche.
Because yeah.
Well, not only that, but the Brew Show puts out content, and like, if I look at my analytics, it's 99% male and 1% female, and I'm proud of that 1% female. But the Brew Show will do like ciders or kombucha or sake, and he gets that girl audience. You're not getting that if you're just doing beer. So if you could do fermentation, let stuff sit, use the same tools, use the same homebrew system you got, you could branch out a little bit, and you can really grow your channel going after, the female audience. So from there, we were doing, I was like, okay, I can't do fermentation videos anymore. So we would make cooking videos, like how to cook beer, cheese, nacho dip, and just pour an IPA in it. And all these videos would bomb. And I was getting ready to wrap up the channel. I was like, this is it. Like, this is stressful on my girlfriend. There's no money behind this. Like, how much time can you put into this before you just quit? Like, hey, this didn't work out. And I made a video. It was like how to force carbonate, where my buddies came over from the brewery that we were all working at. And we made this video, and it was getting like 300 views a day. Like, I think it's got about 150,000 views. So that kind of fucks with your head, because you're like, whoa, I'm getting 5 subscribers a day now, and they want to see more. Yeah. They're not paying for this. Yeah. Subscribing to channels are free. So why would you subscribe? Because you want to see more content. And then it was bomb, nothing would hit. And then like right at that time, Hazy IPA video came out. We made a video. And that got some shine. Yeah. And then, I don't know, I just had really bad content strategy. And then it wasn't until about a year ago where I started talking with Kyle from Clawhammer about like A/B testing. And maybe if I get my shitty face off a thumbnail and put a good looking girl on there, I'm going to get 3 times the views. And boom, that's what happened to my Carboy video. And I know that I love doing the travel videos the most because you're traveling, and I just have my iPhone that I bring out and I hold it sideways like that, and you're not clanking around you're not like the idiot dude with the selfie stick holding it up. Like, I can film very subtly without looking like a grade A piece of shit tourist. And I know that those just don't have any shine, and I like those the best, but it just got to the point where I think like I just can't quit at this point. I'm too pot committed. I've tried to go. I've got 200 videos on my channel, on the Homebrew for Life channel.
Yeah.
I could have 200 videos on the Hoppy Hour channel in like maybe a few months if I wanted to sit down and just break up, this. But I tried to go full time twice. One was in San Diego, and it was right when me and my girlfriend broke up. Like, it's expensive being single anywhere, but it's really expensive being single in California. Yeah. And that was a bad idea. That was a really bad idea. And then the second time I tried to go Homebrew for Life full time was when I came out here. I was like, okay, I moved to Tennessee. Okay. Everything's a lot cheaper. And instead of brewing, I didn't brew forever. I've only brewed 3. I've got something going right now. But I was like, I went to Europe and I just blew all this money on Czech and Berlin, and I went to San Diego a couple times, and I was trying to go to Asheville as much as I could. And when you're traveling, you're not putting out content. Like, the best way to put out content is like, hey, let's stay at home. Let's look at footage we've already done. How to save $10 here. Top 10 ways to save money. Top 5. That way you can just crank out content. But I was traveling so much, and I maybe could have pulled it off. I mean, I don't know, because it's also, the Homebrew for Life is donation based. The ad revenue is nothing. Sure. I don't even have a merch store right now. I make X amount of dollars on Amazon affiliate. The memberships do really help out. Shout out to everybody in here right now who's green.
I bet.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think I've got like 150 of those at this point, but it really came down to donations. So it's like, hey, you could do $500 a month or like $2,000 a month, but that's a pretty significant income month to month. So I started working, pouring beer again down the street about a mile away. And I don't really consider that a job, you know, like I'm kind of the graveyard guy there. I work from 6 p.m. to 1 in the morning. It's an 11,000 square foot building. And I kind of have to do that because I don't do anything out here. Like I edit at home by myself. I have 2 friends. You know, I don't have family. I don't have a roommate. I don't have a girlfriend. I need to see people. Like I need to eye-to-eye contact, see what people are doing. And it's a cool job. And I've said this before, like if I won the lotto tomorrow, I think I'd still probably always pour beer. I'm done with food. I'm good on the craft cocktails. Beer is not stressful. I love beer. There's little room for error. Like no one's going to send back beers and stuff like that. So I don't even know if like there will ever be a time where I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to quit this job to go YouTube full time again. It's like, just pour beer 2 or 3 times a week and take that YouTube stress off you. But if I ever do quit that job, I'm going to make sure like I know exactly what I'm doing with YouTube this time. And it's not going to be a gamble. So that's how it just kind of got started, you know. And I was talking with Genus Peter on Monday, and he was like, dude, I remember I got like 1,000 subscribers, and then I got 5,000. I thought we were going to like take over the world. He's like, I'm breaking even every month, you know, like you really got to be strategic with a YouTube homebrewing channel. We're not selling anything, you know. Kyle can sell a system. Kyle's selling something. I think Martin solely does it for a hobby. I think he's just got a great job with IBM, and he's just doing this as just strictly a passion project. I know he gets everything for free, but it's like all the time and effort you're giving up. Like you could have picked up like, you know, you could have probably made way more money just working at McDonald's or something. And I just got to the point where like, I love putting out content. Like I love like chopping these videos up. This is cool. Anybody can do this, but like Homebrew for Life was like my baby. You know, I don't know if you watch Homebrew for Life, but like it's so ADD'd out. I'll look at all the weird things throughout the week, write it down, then put it on a computer or a pen to paper, then put it on a computer, and try to get myself to laugh. Like just like, okay, if I'm going to laugh at this, maybe I should go live with it. And I'm sitting here all day like, is that cringy? Is that cool? Does everyone hate me? Like, what the fuck? Here we go.
Well, but dude, I think I think that's a lot to it though. You know, there was a period of time where like, so the stupid little picture of myself smiling like that, I was at my son's basketball game, and they were taking like the team pictures behind like this like school backdrop that was like baby blue with clouds on it, and they had all the lights.
Is that the one I put on the thumbnail? I got shown the thumbnail. Yeah.
After the game, nobody was standing in there, so I just went back there and I took a picture of myself because I'm an idiot and that's what I do. That's what I would do. And then when I was talking to my wife, I'm like, I need a picture for this channel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think this picture's hilarious because, okay, I look a little bit crazy, but at least joyful while that's happening, right? And that is like. There's no serial killer Netflix documentary. Adam Dahmer. No, I'm kidding, man. But dude, I do think there is something to that, and I think that was when I remember when my buddy Andy was editing like the first 6 weeks of footage that I sent him, and finally,
well, that's huge too. So, you have an editor.
Sure.
That's huge.
So he's edited about 25 of my videos. And so he still does the stuff he still has done the prettier stuff. Things have gone a little bit leaner and meaner with me editing since October.
But there's only so many hours in the day. You work full time. You've got 6 kids. I'll spend 8 hours just looking at files. Like, hey, like just looking, going back and trying to scrape together old B-roll.
Yeah. And
That's
so for me, like it's super like, so like when I'm shooting a brew day at work, I pretty much know what I'm going to be using.
mhm.
So I've just kind of fallen into that. So that part has gotten easier and quicker for me because I kind of know what I want to be recording and what shots I need and stuff like that. But again, man, it's really lean. It's really lean as far as production value and different things like that.
Stick with that and write it out. Because when we first started to make YouTube videos, I'd have guys come over and we'd film, and they'd film aimlessly, just film everything. Just what this guy's
Yeah.
not even doing anything beer related. Just go, what's up, Maury? Hey, what's up, CH? Like, what are you doing? And then everybody would give me these like two memory cards with 10 gigabytes on each one of them. And I would just go back and look
There's
at it.
nothing on there.
But it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
stressful. I was like, we got to work backwards.
Yeah.
We need a shot list.
Yeah.
We need slow motion of this. Like everything else,
Yeah.
I'll give you guys 1 gigabyte, which is like
Yeah.
3 minutes of just filming dumb shit. So I started working backwards, and it's way better. And I've got like 4 or 5. This is one of the reasons I'm not drinking tonight, is because I've got such a gnarly backlog. But I've got stuff I'm writing down of B-roll that for like 5 videos right now. You know, I'm like, I'm not going to shoot anything new. Like, I'm just going to go back.
Yeah.
But with that,
Yeah.
since you've been putting out content, do you get customers come in from your YouTube channel? They'd be like, hey, I saw you on YouTube.
Yeah, we've had people have hit me up and said, yeah, that that they've come in because of the channel and stuff like that, or they're visiting family in Cincinnati, so they make sure to come out. So
And that's
yeah, it's
cool.
And
Unless
so,
you don't
like,
like that, unless you're
and
brewing, or get the fuck out of here. I'm mashing out. Yeah.
No,
Know your room.
so
Is this a good time to ask 21 questions? See you at the bar, 5 o'clock.
Right, but no, man, it's been good, and I think looking at it through the right light, like it's a positive for the business, it's a positive for me, and yeah, I think we can both benefit from it.
Well, good. That's a good story, because that's what we were talking about earlier. The trend I think now is video content, and I think that
And it's human beings too, man. Like, I mean, really, people like people. Yeah, I mean, like, because like you said, the beer at the beach, or the burger with the beer next to it. I mean, there's how many times can you have that? And it is on some level a necessary evil as you're getting out something specific about whatever. But yeah, it's
what up,
I don't know.
Gnomsky? What up, all you guys? And with that, like the girls out there, that was another reason I think I wanted to put out YouTube content, because everybody in 2014, 2015 would start a beer Instagram account, and it was literally just beer pics. I understand they had DSLR cameras and they were good pictures. It'd be a girl with her titties hanging out or something, or it'd be just if it wasn't a girl, I just assume it was a guy. And he would have ways to like pour the beer and have like the lemon wedge in there.
Yeah.
It'd look like a great shot. And they would have
Yeah.
like 20,000 followers or 40,000 followers.
Yeah.
They're not making any money.
Yeah.
They might be getting a 6-pack here or there. But it's like it's sooner or
Right.
later you guys are it's all the same accounts. It's all the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
account, There's
For
no
sure.
personality behind it. If you see a million good beer pictures all day, you're kind of desensitized to it. Like someone write a
Yeah.
joke. Someone chug a beer super
Yeah.
fast. Someone show
But
a mash or a boil kettle overflowing. Anything but a
Yeah.
beer with a
And
lemon
that's why
wedge.
I do think that yeah, and that's why I do think people actually being themselves on some level is what's actually important, because like I try to be as much of myself as I can, right?
Sure.
Because again, people like I'm sure there's some people that think I'm a complete douchebag, and they don't like the stuff I'm doing.
You're
or
not going to
whatever.
win
They
with
don't like
everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But the flip side is that I think when you at least are yourself, I think that's when you actually do find that you're connecting with people.
And I
You know,
think
so.
just the key to be yourself is just say like, this isn't set in stone, like philosophy was talking about. 10 different people, same recipe, who knows? And I've always said,
Yeah.
however you get there is however you get there. However you get good beer, I don't give a shit if you're doing extract or you're brewing in plastic. If you've got it figured out, you've got to figure it out. You don't need the $1,500 homebrew stainless steel stuff.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I remember I was given a talk. I was given a talk at a homebrew competition, and it was like an overnight one. So we had the judging all day or whatever, and then we had like talks at night, and then we stayed. We had like a hotel there, and then we were judging again the next day. And I just gave a talk on like what my homebrew setup was like, and I mean, I was still in my kitchen, aluminum pots. And now the one thing I did spend money on, well, for me spending money was I made sure I had happy, healthy yeast, so I invested on the yeast side of stuff and temperature control, and I made sure my stuff was clean and whatever. And I had people, like give me a hard time with how janky my rig was, but it was like, dude, what you're making word in, like, borderline doesn't matter as long as you're using something that's beer safe.
Yeah, and I used to disable all the comments because
yeah,
I mean, I'd get people on the I don't care about the YouTube trolls, like I'll keep those up, but I feel like the Instagram comments, people like click on that. If you see like an Instagram post that's got 16 or 20 comments, like people are going to click on that.
Sure.
And someone's like, hey, you have no idea what you're doing, or like this was wrong, or you fermented too hot or something like that. I'm like, no, I didn't. You just did it different, So don't try to like negate my credibility right now. So for the first couple of years, I would just disable all the comments on YouTube. I didn't want anybody to like have a voice on my platform, even if it was.
It's tough, man. It's tough. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to be out there. I don't know, doing it.
But
I mean, it's hard enough to look at yourself.
It is.
You know what I mean? And I'm working, and so I'm recording myself working, and there are an alarming number of unflattering angles on this body, if you can believe it. And when I first started going back and watching that footage,
you're 45. Like, you're looking great, man. You're living fine. He's 45, but if anybody asks, he's 35.
But you know what I mean? It's a humbling thing to see yourself on camera. You know what I mean? Because when we look in the mirror, we line that face up the right way.
Right.
Like subconsciously, we just do it.
Yeah.
But then when there's stuff coming up from under here and you're getting all that neck and everything, man, it's not always easy out there.
And you hear yourself differently. Everybody in here hears himself differently. That's why when you hear your own voice, you're like, damn, I talk like that? Like, fuck, I'm going to become a deaf mute from here on out. I'm not saying another word. I'm learning sign language. That was it. 38 years. Northwest small batch, Carl Dom. I want to talk a little bit about back to the Cincinnati vibe, and because I'm always trying to figure out where the markets are good and where the markets are bad. How many breweries are in Cincinnati? And
Cincinnati's got a good number of breweries, man. I mean, they're up all over the place. So
like over 50
I think so. Yeah, I think they've got to have 60.
50 or 60
in the city.
And is there?
Yeah, I think so.
Are they at the stage kind of where there's satellite tasting rooms? Like High Wire has 3 in Asheville.
Yeah.
And a lot in San Diego have like 4 or 5, just a couple miles away from.
You're starting to see that. Yep.
That's what scares me.
And I think
that's when I think the market's kind of like, okay, maybe we shouldn't open up a brewery in this town. Depending on how big the population is and how, condensed everything is. But that's what scares me about opening up a brewery in a specific location. When the satellite tasting rooms come out, maybe we shouldn't open up a brewery there.
Sure. Yeah. And so it's an interesting thing, right? Because, the satellite tasting rooms are an attempt to be maximizing the initial investment of the production facility, right?
And you got the best margins there on your draft beer.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as opposed to spending money on sales staff that's pushing half barrels for $170, whatever it is, a half barrel.
Right.
And you can be pouring it for full margin out of your own taps.
Right.
So you can drop whatever you drop on that tap room and just be pouring your beer there, man. It's another form of printing money compared to trying to get more beer out and competing for handle somewhere else where the margin isn't even there compared to your own taps,
Where would we see? Who would be the biggest Cincinnati brewery in circulation? Like or somebody that you
Rheingeist and Mad Tree right now.
Mad Tree? Okay.
Matry and Rheingeist, I think, are the two largest production places.
And I've had Rheingeist. Rheingeist is probably in all 50 states now, right?
They might be. I don't know. I don't know, but I know they were. I know they're. I think kind of Rheingeist and Madtree are the maybe the last couple that will open up at least for where we're at right now that have gone kind of regional relatively quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as that goes, because those aren't easy transitions, man.
Because their word of mouth was phenomenal, or they had deep pockets to begin with, or both.
You know, I think it's you know, sometimes people want to shit on well-marketed beer. Like, there's nothing wrong with like marketing yourself well. It doesn't mean that the beer because sometimes people say, well, okay, well this place blew up. Well, it's a marketing machine. I don't buy that, because it's still business. Okay, you still have to have. That means you're just gonna get the beer into somebody's hands once. That's what marketing means, right?
Right.
Beyond that, they have to enjoy it enough, right, to go back to it. And so I think sometimes there can be sour grapes with places like that blow up. But I think they're making they're making good beer. They're well marketed, and effective sales strategies, man.
You brought up a good point. I never thought about that. If someone buys the beer again, this for the second time, it's probably on. Like, it's probably a
Sure.
hell of a brewery. If you're going back,
well, and the flip side is too, people get too hung up on this, and this is not me coming across as anti-consumer or anything like that.
Dude, live your life, man. Get it out. Let's get in trouble.
There's more people that know. There's a lot of people that know the difference between good beer and bad beer, but I don't think. I think there's far fewer people that know the difference between good and great beer. Okay. And what I'm saying by that is is a lot of times people think they're going to get into this game because they make great beer. But the problem is you're still running a business. Your great beer doesn't keep your doors open, dude.
No.
When I was living back in Michigan, there were spots that were making super average beer, but the service staff was amazing. Good people.
The atmosphere.
And the place was packed.
Yeah.
Right. And they were killing. Right.
Right.
Because that's really what's happening. That's really what's happening. And I know places that make killer beer that go under. You know what I mean? Because end of the day, you're still running a business.
We got a lot of people in here right now.
And what's that?
I was just letting you know, we got like 90-some people in here right now. But no, you're right. And how many breweries do you know that? Yeah, you said they went out of business, but they have phenomenal beer, and it's just they're struggling. You know, it's not,
sure.
It's just a bummer that like the phenomenal beer doesn't really roll over to having a successful business. And at the end of the day, the two breweries that I go to the most, I go there for the bartenders. So you're talking about, you know, the people again in the house of staff. You know, you want to go see your friends or something like that, and what beers they have on. I'm gonna get something. I'm not gonna walk out because they didn't have the one I liked on from the week before. Yeah. You know, creating that ambience, or even finding that, like the place that I work at right now, I don't think the perfect job exists. People think like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. It's like, well, you could fucking hate that. You could hate that. Yeah. Especially my lawyer friends are miserable. Anyway, I think the perfect job comes down to morale. Like, and I've worked for construction companies that were better and worse than each other. Sales companies, better or worse than each other. I've worked at breweries, way better, way worse than each other. If you can go to work and you don't hate your job, I wouldn't go as far as saying that's the perfect job, because I don't think it exists. But when morale is up, customers can see that. Like, they want to be there. And if employees are having a good time, you know.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, sometimes people say, well, like, you know, how do you build culture? And they'll talk about like social media and stuff like that. But I think it's a trap.
It does.
I think
it gets forced when people start talking too much about we're a community or we're giving back to the people. Or when you have to say that too much, it's a big red flag.
Yeah, and how about this? How about that stuff is supposed to your message and your brand and what you're actually about, it should be bleeding out of your people that are on the floor, right? Like it should just be leaking out of them, okay? It needs to be contagious because how like a message like that actually works is, okay, I'm pro community, I'm pro people. I think people should be treated like this. Then as a manager, owner, whatever, that's how you treat your people are happier because they are treated that way and they are managed effectively. And then that spills out to the customer because really, I mean, the best thing, the best social media shtick is the people that walk out of your place and tell other people that they need to go there, man.
The word of mouth
That's
is
the
the
thing.
best,
I mean,
best and
it's
biggest lead by so far. So much bigger than
hell
showing up
yes,
number
dude.
one on Google or Yelp or anything. Word of mouth
And like so like
is
you
as
go into a spot
warm as it
for a
gets.
bartender,
Yeah.
right? So you've got a bartender you like, you're gonna go in there and have beers when they're pouring. If you see that person's boss shit all over them,
Right.
or you see them treating them bad, bro, you're not gonna want to be in that place, right?
Or
Because people actually care about people.
or going in there and there's new people there every 3 months, you can be like, damn, this place has a
Yeah,
lot of turnover. That's not good.
yeah,
Something's
man.
up here,
Yeah.
But when I
Oh
go to
yeah.
work, again, I'm a measly little beer tender, man, pouring beers like a monkey. People
Sure.
were hugging each other. We cheers. Everyone says, love you. I love you. Never got that in San Diego. We have a lot of love. I don't know if it's like maybe you just hired like the right people. Maybe it did start from the our bosses and our territory managers and our tasting room managers and stuff like that. But we like go to the movies with each other on their days off.
Yeah.
I've worked at companies before. I wanted to kill employees. Like I've wanted to like throw a punch at work.
Is that frowned upon?
I think that might get you written up. But some places, like, I think they just get lucky and they have it organically because you never really know
Yeah.
like who you're hiring. You're kind of taking a shot in the
Sure.
dark unless this guy is like severely vouched for or him, which is also scary. Hiring somebody that you know. But
Sure.
yeah, I think just my definition of like the perfect job is just could be any job, but you just don't hate going to work.
Well, exactly. And the thing about it is okay, so this is my dream job, but if they didn't pay me, I wouldn't go.
Like
You,
there's
you
a
know what I
money
mean? Like
thing
that's
involved. Yeah. I mean, you got to cross
you
the
know,
I's and dot the T's at some point.
definitely.
Bills don't pay
Definitely.
themselves. You ever cut the hole in the bottom of the popcorn? What up, Chris Radiation? He's coming down to Tampa Bay with us. We got a small little crew going down
Nice.
to a beer festival in March. Yeah. So
Nice.
I'm prepping for my sober February thing right now. Me and a couple people are going to do sober February. So this is
Okay.
cool, man. I'm glad we're doing this. I'm glad we're doing a sober thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. You cannot teach passion. No, you cannot. I don't have too much anything else kind of written out. You can hit the chat if anybody has any questions for Adam. We've only been here for an hour and 7 minutes. I felt like this was like 2 hours. What do you think? Did this go by pretty fast for you?
It's gone by fast, yeah. I'm getting a little more used to it. I've done a couple. I did a stream this past week with I think Brew Dude, some guys in the
Brewdog?
UK.
Oh, how was
No,
that?
it was cool. It was cool. They were super nice guys. Three guys over there doing that show. I think they have like a regular channel and then like a podcast channel. I did the podcast portion
Kind of
of
like
it.
me.
But super nice dudes, man. It's cool talking to people that are making beer somewhere else, and especially people that are outside of like, they're outside the U.S. So
Sure.
we have the, I wanted to ask them about cask beer and stuff like that, and so
Yeah.
it was a good time. It was a good time. But
Good.
yeah, I'm getting used to it, and it's but yeah, it's moving fast for me, and it's been enjoyable. So yeah.
Good. I'm glad. And I did one with an English guy out there one time. The bummer about that is that you're on different time zones. So like not everyone's going to
Sure.
show up. You're going to try to get this crowd or maybe his crowd. So that's why it's pretty much geared towards, I can have West Coast people on here and we could start a little bit
Sure.
later. But this works. You know, if I start at
For
9:30 or
sure.
10 o'clock here, we can go for a couple hours, and it's still 6 or 7 o'clock on the West Coast.
Sure.
You're getting some questions that pop up right now. I'm gonna hit the head really fast. Nobody go anywhere.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Chris, Adam, do you monitor the pH of your beer during fermentation? For a normal ale, what happens to the pH from start to finish, and is pH an indicator of finished fermentation? Hey, that's a super good question. So one of the things that yeah, we do track that, and it's pretty interesting. I never really connected it in my head before, but pH is one of the first things that will start dropping in your beer, along with obviously sugar being converted into alcohol. But it's one of those it's one of those self-defense functions by the yeast, right? It's trying to outcompete other things, and so one of the first things it wants to do is to drop that pH down. So yeah, we do track that. I find that it pretty much moves completely within the first 24, 36 hours. It'll pretty much bottom out, and you'll hit I guess what your terminal pH will be for the beer. And then your gravity will continue to be dropping from there. It can be it can be one of the indicators, but again, it does seem to happen earlier in the process. And so probably not the best. One thing I would say to track though is if you are if you have a holding a tank closed or sealed or open, whatever, you know, with the blow off on, and you know that you're at terminal, past diacetyl and everything like that, and you see that pH start climbing again, you can actually assume that maybe you're starting to get into a little bit of dead yeast cell action. So you're getting into what the heck is the term for that? I'm forgetting it. It slipped my mind. But when yeast cells die, they can kick out undesirable flavors and aromas, sometimes brothy, rubbery type stuff. And yeah, and you can sometimes see a pH climb with that. So you know it's time to be getting that stuff off the yeast.
Who was that
So
from?
yeah.
Thanks for the questions. What's up, Jaggers? What's up, dude? What's up, Max Kelly? We're glad you're here too, Max Kelly. We see you. We see you, MK.
Hey, I'm gonna hit the head real quick, and then I'll be right back, and we
do
can
your
take
thing.
some more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Short Circuited Brian. He's got some killer new stuff. He's got some content coming out. He says he's 5 subscribers away from 40,000. So shout out to anybody who subscribed to his channel as well. He had a good live stream last week. I was there. Saw some of your pretty faces in there. Chris Radiation, 2 idiots. Adam's volume is way low. We'll be okay. Got to go back and look at Party Time's video. And if you haven't seen the video with Dan, Hops, and Gnarly, and Adam, go check that out. That was a cool video. Is Hops in here? And then thanks for watching the one with Brewlosophy last week. That one's up. Everything's pretty much up at this point. And you can go and click on a link to their video, to their new channel, which is supposed to be in February. And I think it's a live thing. I think it's got to be, because I think that's just the way you can put out consistent content the easiest. And that should be fun. Other than that, I saw the movie The Whale today with Brendan Fraser, and it's a great movie, but it's kind of gnarly. That's all I have to say about that. But it's a good movie. I recommend it. What up, Nick Smith? What's up, Tom Alvarado? How you doing, man? I wish I could sub again. Shout out to Carl Dom. You got one beer that you could drink for the rest of your life. You know, that's stupid. What's your favorite beer of all
real
time?
Quick though, I would do ABGB Industry Pills.
ABGB?
Yeah, ABGB Austin Beer Garden. My wife and I. So yeah, it was actually when we dropped our first. Yeah, I love it. And you know, and I'll say this, I feel like sometimes people say that there isn't a perfect beer or whatever. But like, first of all, you know, to have that conversation, obviously you need to have a great beer in front of you. But then it's circumstance. It's like it's everything surrounding it that makes it perfect, right? So my wife and I never really had a a honeymoon, and so we had gone 20 years without having more than 2 nights alone from the kids, and so
Yeah.
we went to Austin for 8 days in May of 2022, and when we were there, we dropped the first four episodes of the channel, and but anyways, we went there. I knew I wanted to go to Austin Beer Garden. Knew who they made. They've been winning tons of stuff for their lagers and whatnot, and just a beautiful little pills that they made, man. It's brilliant, just the right amount of hop flavor, just the right amount of hop aroma, and it's hot as hell down there, so they've got to be something that you can really drink, and it was just perfect. I was down there with my wife and having those beers, and yeah, I mean that one's, yeah, it's kind of a quick and easy one for me. It's just a great experience though too.
I know what you're talking about. That's the one where you walk in and the stage is directly to the right and the bar is right ahead of you, correct?
Yeah, and then it says pills, 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 and lights above the stage.
Yes.
As in Pilsner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
had I've had the one you're talking about. We only had a couple beers there that day. Me, Noam, and Alias. I don't know if they're still in here, but there was a couple medals that they had up there, GABF, for their Pilsners.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
ABGB Industry Pills. No, I vividly remember drinking that, and it was great. And that just everything was awesome. It was like the first time that, I don't know if they had a live band when you were there rocking out, but we got there maybe like noon, maybe 2. Place was shredding. Band was killing it. Dance floor couldn't have been busier. And it wasn't people that were like drunk dancing like me, like double fisting.
Yeah.
It was people like square dancing and, throwing girls up and catching them and stuff like that. No, that was cool.
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
It's
I
a
don't
cool
know.
spot.
People keep asking about Saucy. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe
Cartridge was acquired by Saucy about 2 months ago. Saucy is a brewery out of Cleveland.
Is that good or bad?
It's good, man. I got a job, and
nobody got shuffled around.
Primarily. Yeah. Actually, dude, we haven't lost. We didn't lose anybody in the acquisition. They've been very good to us, and I'm very grateful. Absolutely.
So what happened? The owners pretty much instantly retired. I mean, what happens now?
Yeah, so the original owners sold to Saucy. Saucy is now the majority owner of the business. Owns Cartridge, and so under new ownership and doing our thing.
Well, good. I'm glad that worked out. I'm glad it wasn't like because
there's possibilities. There's possibilities because if we sold to a production house like a Cincinnati production house and they just wanted to close the brewery down and put their own beer on and just use it as a tap room,
sure,
they could.
Right.
And then, me and my people don't have jobs. And, so yeah, I mean, it's been a blessing. And, I mean, a bunch of change, getting used to, the acquisition of putting 2 breweries together. There's a lot of things to knock off the list before things start going smoothly. So we're still in that process, but they've been very good to us. So it's been a good thing.
Saucy's one of the bigger guys out there in Cleveland.
They're a bigger spot. Yeah, it's a production house. And they're out in distribution quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay. I got a lot of breweries that I've written down tonight that I put on my radar. I've definitely had Rheingeist, Mad Tree. I don't know if I'm going to see the Industry Pills out here. No, you remember drinking that? I think we were a little bit hungover, but the beer was phenomenal nonetheless. That was like the first place I think we hit after we went way too hard. Beerquois Nation. Cincy is a great neighborhood. Well, I want to come to Cincinnati now. And actually, one of my
dude, it's honestly, it's a cool town, man.
I've heard nothing but good things.
And it's got a nice beer scene, and it's a cool place. And I'm a Midwest. I don't think it's quite the Midwest, but it's nice folks. It's nice folks.
What would you consider like the heart of the Midwest, like Chicago?
Yeah, I think you start getting south of Chicago and Cleveland, and there's Southern accents here. Like, I don't know if we're that close to Kentucky. I mean, the river's right there. It's this melding line
Okay,
between
I got to get
north
up.
and south in my mind.
I got to get up to Lexington, Kentucky, because I can drive there, and I've heard phenomenal things about that. That's what I love
Well,
about.
Lexington's not that far too. Yeah, yeah.
So what is that? What's Cartridge's address? I'm gonna plug this in right now. What are you like 6 hours away?
1411 Grandin Road, Grandin.
Dayton, Ohio.
Mm-mm. It would actually be. It'll probably say Mainville. I think you're. Well, it'll tell you.
218 miles. That's not far at all.
No.
No, man. Hops and Gnarly went way further. Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, come on up, man. Yeah, hell yeah.
What do you typically work Monday through Friday? 7 to 3?
I'm usually Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, yeah.
You got a 15-barrel system. How many days a week are you brewing?
It depends on time of year. I think we did about
It's a straight shot.
1,500 barrels last year.
1,500 barrels last year. I could take the 75 all the way up to you. Just go through London. This is like a straight shot. Yeah, I don't know anything outside of Asheville as far as drive time, but I'm close to a lot of stuff. I got Georgia. Sure. I got Georgia on the south side. I got to get down to Atlanta.
And it's an old munitions factory for World War I, World War II. Pull up some images of it when we're done. It's a gorgeous building, man.
I will.
It's a cool renovation.
Yeah, everybody put that on your radar. Again, for those who just got here, this is Adam from Saucy Brewery. No, I'm just kidding. From Cartridge Brewery up there in Cincinnati, Ohio. And he's got a YouTube channel that you all need to subscribe to because it's free. It's free to subscribe to it. It's not $10.99 like everything else I pay for on Netflix and Hulu and all the shit that I don't even watch anymore. But the Pam Anderson documentary is coming out on Netflix, so I'm going to keep it for this month. But other than that, I might start getting rid of my HBOs and shit like that. But anyway... anything you want to talk about, Adam? Anything else? Because as soon as I get off here, I was like, I want to bring that up. I had that written down. Anything you want to?
No. I mean, I don't know. It's been the funny thing, and actually, just to ask you. Well, not ask you, but it's like, and I'd be interested in hearing stuff from the chat too, like.
What do you guys want to see?
I'll be completely honest. So like I hit up people when I first started doing content, and I knew it was early. And you were saying though earlier something that spurred something in my mind. And there's some folks that were like, and like you're like, well, we'll talk. I'll hit you back up. And it's like, am I gonna laugh?
Yeah, I didn't know if you were gonna go brew cabbing on me. Put out one video and then just ghost.
Well, no, but it's one of those things where like I'm pretty self-motivated. And it's not super high on the list, but I think sometimes it's good to have a little something that keeps like the fire burning. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I always have one of the reasons that I'm like doing as much content as I'm doing is like I have no idea. Like I'm still trying to figure out what's working, what isn't working. And stuff like that. So just anybody that's listening, if you've seen my stuff, if you haven't, check it out, and then hit me up in comments or whatever, and let me know the type of stuff. Let me know ways I can be dialing this thing in, because I really want to be, bringing as much value to you guys as I can. So yeah, that's just a request on my part for all of you guys out there.
My advice to you is advice to my earlier self. Don't go after the niche stuff. I remember thinking about making a video like, if we tried like 5 different Belgian yeast strains and we were going to make the video. It was my buddy who owned a commercial brewery that was going to help me out with it. And looking back on that, I was like, that video would have bombed. Nobody would have clicked on it. Belgians are not popular at all anymore. We have 20 beers on tap. We don't have a Belgian. Occasionally we'll get somebody that comes in and asks for a Saison. or a Blue Moon or a Shock Top. I don't even know what the hell
Sure.
those beers are. But like the more generalized stuff get the most views. You know, like how to save
Okay.
money, commercial fermenters versus this.
Sure.
The more popular hops, beginner stuff. Put beginners, how to brew for beginners.
Sure.
Yeah, and then because I used to make videos on like a 3-grain roller versus a 2-grain roller, you know, like really niche shit, you know, and that took up a lot of time, and it was a cool video to do because I think I had a 2-roller and a 3-roller at the time, so I didn't have to buy anything or spend any money. You know, it's always good to put out
Sure.
content. My advice to you though is general topics. Film everything with your phone. Focus on audio. Don't spend $1,500 on a camera lens. Maybe not ever. You know.
Sure.
It's tutorial driven first, and then topic, and then I think personality. I don't know where the 2 and the 3 fall, but number 1 will always be tutorial driven. The topic. What are we clicking on and why? Got a super chat of the night. Shock Top. Something tells me that's Chris Radiation. Today we're going to put a slice of orange in a muddy Pilsner and call it a Belgian. I remember those days. And they still have the best accounts. Like I go to airports and stuff, and you see the Shock Top, and you know that it's Budweiser has this whole account. Or
That's
Coors
right.
Millers, yeah.
That's right.
What up, Barbecue Larry? Thanks for coming on last weekend. Hope you're doing well, Larry. He put out some content. He had the fermenter, the keg mentor video, which is a popular topic in homebrewing because you can, I think it's 10 gallon, maybe 15 gallon. Great video though,
I'll
Larry.
say that. That's one of the things that blows my mind is like where the equipment's gone in homebrewing since the last time I saw stuff. Because I didn't do Instagram or anything before starting to do this. So I had to learn how to do Instagram and everything. And like people are like, these reels are popping up and people are like, they're doing what I'm doing. So I have like I'll be doing a video a little bit later. It's just a tutorial on how I use this hop doser when I dry hop.
Yeah.
So I don't have to ever open the fermenter to the air. I don't have to worry about beer geysers, like from a safety standpoint, whatever. But like I see dudes doing stuff like that on their conicals at home, and I'm like, man, it's really wild where the hobby is gone, with some of the equipment options.
Yeah, and Larry was on a couple weeks ago, and he's been brewing. What year did you start brewing? You said you've been brewing for 10 years. No, you
Professionally.
Yeah, but you've been brewing since the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And it was what? Glass carboys. Nobody was brewing.
Glass carboys.
Yeah. And were the hops even in pellets then?
They were, but I still remember like when we had the hop shortage and you couldn't get like any decent hops or whatever.
When was that?
The market was hit. And we're all using these janky ass French. There was like for some reason like French Strisel Spalt. It was like all you could get for a little bit.
Why was
like the IPA hops dried up and stuff. I think it was something on the crop side.
Just a bad crop
something
year.
Like that.
Lack of rain.
But
or
yeah,
something.
and so actually somebody even posted an article the other day about how Sam Adams, back when that was happening, they were actually like selling hops to other people because they had big contracts or something. But yeah.
For some, I heard
it
that.
was glass carboys and shit, and yeah. So
what up, Che Adams?
Yeah, it was. The plastic carboys were just starting to come out when I was going on my way out of brewing at home.
And then after that, the fermenters that were cool were the I don't know, what did I have after that? Like the gimmicky stuff where like the yeast would drop out or something, and that never.
Yeah, like the plastic conicals. You remember those? Like the teardrop size one, and you can drop the yeast. Yeah.
But what was the big fermenter before pressure fermentation? Because that's kind of where the market's at now.
Yeah, see, that's all new to me. It's interesting.
Yeah,
I like where some of this stuff has gone because, any way you can start tightening up those quality control points between, you know, when you're fermenting in a carboy, you know, I mean, your quality control is different than when you're in something stainless under pressure, right? You know, so yeah, it's cool to see that stuff evolve.
Yeah, and I remember I just made a video on this. Like the stainless steel fermenter came out and it was affordable because you could buy the one that had, you know, the wheels on it, and they pretty much just took a commercial fermenter and they scaled it down, which was ridiculous because you can just pick this thing up. It doesn't need wheels. I understand that this looks like and makes you feel like a commercial brewer, but I think that they go after just the new guy, you know, the people that have been sitting around. They're not going to buy something like that. But then they did come out with like the Anvil bucket or the SS Brewtech bucket. We're like, this is only $100 or $150, and it had the adapters and stuff that were janky, but it still worked. You know, like the little cooling coil and the bung with 4 holes in it, and you're trying to get the thermal well down there and all that stuff. It was still affordable, and you could do temperature controls. So that's yes. So that's what I brewed on for a long time, and it was so easy to clean, and I just loved getting away from glass and that whole spigot thing. The spigot drove me fucking banana sandwich. Spigot IPA, man. Spigots would always drive me crazy. So what do you what's going on for you tomorrow? You got a brew day?
No, we just brewed the other day. We brewed a batch of our Hellas the other day. Honestly, it's gonna be like some paperwork stuff. I've got some scheduling to do and kind of some of the admin stuff. We moved around a couple beers today. We moved a couple beers over to Bright Tank, and we'll be keg cleaning and tank cleaning tomorrow and
cellaring. I like it. Forecasting. I want to give a shout out to Peter in here, Genus Brewing. He was in my neck of the woods on Monday, and he flipped a lot of the bills. So when I go up to Spokane, I'm paying for dinner and drinks and nightcaps, man. But it was good to see him out here. I think he shot a video with Kyle from Clawhammer. I know that they hung out. I don't know if they were able to get some B-roll in there, but it was cool that he was in Knoxville and Asheville this last weekend. He's tall. He makes me feel like Danny DeVito. Yeah, I wasn't ready for that.
How tall are you?
5'13". How about you?
5'13". That's solid. I have like 5'10", 5'11", something like that.
Peter's 6'3", but he's bigger than me. Not like bigger than me. I think we could probably have a good wrestling match. He's just you just look at somebody on YouTube or something, and then you see him in real life, and you're just like, whoa, you know, you're a
much longer man,
or shorter, or this and that. Sure. But no, I had a great time with Peter. That was fun as hell. He was slapping the shit out of me in Mario Kart and Smash Bros. Yeah. But we still got 88 people in here. What do you? How much are you drinking these days? I mean, because I was actually talking to Peter about this. Like, you own a brewery, you got 6 kids. How much can you drink and enjoy beer and get buzzed before the hangover? Honestly,
dude, I increasingly I drink less and less. I make the joke of saying I don't drink as much as I should, but like legitimately, I don't come home and have a drink, and I don't know, like I taste during the week, like especially when we have a beer that we're brewing, I'll go out and I'll taste what's on tap, and just kind of see if I want to be making any adjustments, stuff like that.
Quality control.
But like sitting down, I drink for QC. I drink if if we get together with friends, I'll have a couple beers. But like the older I get, the less I drink, and like when I do drink, it's almost more of like a geeky research thing. For me, it's just like big picture, I feel better, and also like if I have a couple drinks, I get tired, and I don't have time to be tired right now in my life, you know what I mean? I've got the Ohio Craft Brewers Conference coming up, and so, you know, I'll go out and have some drinks and stuff with that. But you know, the older you get, the worse the hangovers get. And I mean, sometimes they sneak up when you don't even expect them, even when you don't even earn them. So
I'm a hangover engineer. Yeah. I mean, when you do all your Q&A stuff, are you just sober? You're just hanging out? No, because I've seen you've cracked a beer. I've seen you crack some beers.
Sure, yeah.
Just one.
I'll drink usually during like a 2-hour show. I'll do 1 or 2 beers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I did 12 last week with
Um,
Brulosophy and everybody, and that was a lot. Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
was paying for that. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes we're just in here and we're just drinking, and I can drink like 3 or 4 without even thinking about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's just one of those things where I'm at that stage in my life where with what I got going on, I don't have too much time for it. You know what I mean? Like it would I got to get up and keep moving, you know, and I can't afford to be dragging more than I already am when I get out of bed in the
Then you
morning.
say you get up at 5 in the morning too. I don't think there's too many people here
Yeah.
that get up at 5 in the morning. I get up at 9 in the morning, and I'm proud as hell of myself.
Well,
Yeah.
you work late though. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. I don't know, and too like I will say that I think on some level though that can be it can be a detriment, but I do try to I do try to drink with purpose when I drink though. You know, like when I get together with brewer buddies, we lock in, man, and we'll taste a bunch of different beers and we'll do stuff like that. But it's
Four
mostly it's
ounces.
just really grinding it out. I mean,
Yeah.
we're learning, we're discussing, you know, and that's the stuff I really love, man, because there's just something to like there's so many levers, so many dials, so many knobs, man, and understanding how they impact each other, and ultimately for me, it's always like I want to create like these endlessly balanced beers, right? Like a beer that doesn't stop you for a beer that won't stop you from drinking it. Like only prudence should stop you from drinking most beer styles,
Mm.
right? Like so that you know the big 10, 11, 15% barrel aged stuff, yeah, they can be one or done or whatever. But
Nightcaps.
most other beer styles, you should be able to drink multiple pints of. And if you're halfway through a pint and you're thinking about what you wish you were drinking next that you don't want to finish that half pint, there's
We're not
something
making
wrong
that beer.
balance wise in that
Yeah.
beer. That and so that's the thing that I geek out on is dude, how can I get it into that spot where only prudence makes you pump the brakes with drinking a beer.
Have you had any success with JBF? We talked about home brewing competitions earlier, but do you guys submit your beers to Denver at Cartridge?
Yeah, I have. I've had some places win with beers that I've made when I wasn't working there. So like after I left a place, they won with a beer that was mine. That kind of stuff has happened. U.S. Open beer championship though, I've had a fair amount of success with. That's like the third largest. They have about like 9,000 entries in that one. The last few years, I've had good success in that one. And then at local, like at state level competitions as well. So
You
yeah,
said you're
some
a
national, some state.
you said you're a competitive guy. Does it bum you out if you don't place or get first place? Is it kind of like a personal thing that eats at you, or are you just like, hey, you can't let this affect you emotionally?
Yeah, I think I've changed a lot. You know, when I first got into brewing, like I needed to win medals in order to know that like I made the right choice leaving teaching. But really, what it was about is it was just self validation, man. It was an ego thing.
At the home
And
brewing and
life.
commercial level,
Oh
at
hell
the home
yeah,
brewing and commercial level, it's the same emotion.
hell yeah. Yeah, and it is. But I will say, like, and as I've gotten older, and I've had to get, I didn't come across this knowledge like, you know, like meritoriously. I had to have my teeth kicked in. But you know, you learn your lessons and you realize, you know, like the things that actually matter. And like so, like I'm at a point now where what my main focus is with brewing and because listen, making beer is great, but training up people like Josh and Maggie, who you see in my videos but at the end of the day, that's what makes it. That's the most amazing thing that I get to do is work with amazing people and actually like help younger people grow into the industry, right? That's very it's a very foundational thing for me. So like what I always tell them is we're aiming for a bullseye that will never hit because as a brewer if you feel like you've hit the spot and you've arrived it's when you plateau and I don't believe in being in neutral. I think we're either going forward or we're backsliding, right? That's just my experience with things. Maybe that's just my personality, but like so kind of the goal is always staying hungry, always staying learning, always staying pushing because that's actually the goal is growth, right? And so now when I enter competitions and I medal, it feels good. But what I'm really pleased with is it doesn't it doesn't feel as good as I think it might. Right? Like
Right.
sometimes you think if I achieve this, I'm
Right.
gonna be happy. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, no, you're not. No, you're not. Because I used to talk with my other boys that I was brewing with coming up, and we're like, dude, what happens if you enter GABF and you had 5 beers in and you got 5 golds and you won everything? Like, and we would be honest and we'd be like, dude, we'd be happy for like 4 to 6 weeks, and then it's like, oh, well, if I don't do it again, then it was a joke. Like it was fake. Like
That's
if I don't do it again, right?
right.
And that's incredibly unhealthy.
That's everybody. That's the human psyche,
Sure,
though. Like, there's a
sure,
reason
sure,
that
sure, sure,
you don't
sure.
remember winning all the pots in poker, the $100 pots, but you
Yeah.
remember the bad
Hell yeah.
beats. Like, there's just something
Yes.
about that. Like, we remember
Yes.
the the like not getting it. Like, it's
Yeah.
winning $100 feels good, but losing
Yes.
$100 feels way worse than like that positive is. Like that, like
Sure.
not getting it's
Sure.
like deeper than like, going in the green.
100%.
Yeah, that's how I am.
100%.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and like right now, I would obviously rather win than lose in a comp, but it's nice. It's nice when it happens.
Right.
But it's not like it's not this thing that defines me either, right? And I actually think it's one of the I think it's actually one of the things that's making me better as a brewer. Is the fact that I'm approaching it differently. So
Well, I
yeah.
think there's something you said in there too. Like when maybe you didn't brew or you had a day off or you went on vacation and you're drinking the beer that your apprentices brewed and you weren't a part of that, and it does taste like how it should be because
Yeah.
passed the torch. I'd imagine that's a pretty good
Yeah.
feeling.
It really is, and we were having a conversation the other day. I'm working on a talk. I'm not working on it. I'm still working on it, but I'm giving a talk at the Ohio Brewers Conference in part on leadership and developing teams and stuff like that. And one of the things that I'm a really firm believer in is like in an organization, praise doesn't go up. Okay, like praise goes down. To me, it's really Michael Scott of you to think that the people that work for you are supposed to be praising you, right? Um, Praise is supposed to come down from management, ownership, come down. And to me, like my praise as a manager of the brewery is morale. When I walk in and my people are excited to be there, dude, that's all I need. That's the best,
That's
you know.
love. That's that organic
Hell
love we
yeah,
were
man.
talking about earlier. Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you. So we had Josh and Maggie earlier in the year. She took a job at Urban Artifact. Urban Artifact is another tart beer fruited joint. They always get hot boy scores and everything. Very cool. And but yeah, so I had two. There was 3 of us back there, and dude, it was the best. It was the best, man. It was the squad, and but me walking in and seeing them loving doing their job, that's the only praise you need, like from a managerial standpoint, right? Is good morale. So you don't lean on them having to tell you how great it is. Just seeing them they're happy is where it's at. So
It sounds like the
yeah.
brewery's got a lot of love. It's figured out. You guys obviously have the front of the house, and you guys do a kitchen too. Does
Yeah,
everything
full
kind of
kitchen, yep,
does
yep.
everything kind of have the same atmosphere? Like low turnover. Everyone's pretty stoked at Cartridge. You're probably not
Yeah,
going
I
to tell
mean,
me if they
it's
weren't. We're live on the internet right now. Like, would you tell me like, oh, we're hiring and firing every day, man, in through the outdoor. Everyone's throwing food and
well,
shit.
listen, I mean, I think everybody knows that it's the restaurant industry ultimately, right? And there's turnover in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, it's
I mean, that's not a secret.
no, and
That's not a secret.
it's
There's
stressful dealing with
turnover.
there's turnover when you deal with food. That's why I like pouring
Sure.
beer because there's not that much room for error. Like our biggest
Mhm.
thing is that we're overly kid friendly at the place that I work at. And if
Okay.
that's your biggest
Okay.
problem, I mean it is we get bad Yelp reviews. You're always going to get bad Yelp reviews because
Yes.
there's some people you can't win with. So say somebody comes in and their dog is just barking so loud. And you got to go up to those people and be like, hey, like your dog, like the people around you are plugging their ears and you're oblivious that your dog is barking so loud. And they'll be like, well, why didn't you, but you're dog friendly. And you're like, well, yeah, but it's so loud, it's ruining people's nights. They
Sure.
might give you a bad
Sure.
Yelp review. Or if you don't say that, the people that are annoyed will be like, oh, I love this place, but they had dogs barking and kids running around and screaming. So if I don't say something, we still get a bad Yelp review. So you're always going to have bad Yelp reviews, you know?
Sure.
So you got to,
Sure. Sure.
I don't know. Like and it's always, it's not the dog, it's not the kid, it's the parent. You know, it's on
Sure.
it's on the mom and the dad. You know, like if I had a kid that was screaming and crying, I'd get him out of there. If I had a dog that was barking, I would just get him out of there.
Sure.
People have different, you know, senses of entitlement, and
Sure.
there's a lot of people out there, you know. So I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So dealing with food and stuff like that, there's a way more room for error than just having a tasting room.
And sure, and I'll say this too, like also, I mean, and you've probably seen it on your side too. It's harder and harder since the pandemic, to get people working on the service side of things. I think some people took it as an opportunity to say, hey, listen, you know, when the lockdown hit and everything, I'm just not going back. I'm doing something else.
Sure.
You know, because we have had, I mean, and I think that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much everywhere, man. We've had a hard time with staffing, and that's, I think, you know, I don't think that's any secret. I think
That's
most
everywhere.
people do
Yeah,
have
that's
issue. Yeah.
that's just trying to
Yeah.
get people back. We've got a question here from a pro brewer, Ryan. Thanks for that super chat, Ryan Sandberg. Another pro brewer here. Graduated right before COVID. Couldn't find a job in my field, so I got a job at a 3.5 barrel brewery. Now the owners are looking to do another location that would be a 7 to 10. At first, weird going from 5-gallon batches to 120-gallon batches. I don't think that's a question. He's just showing us some love, man. Cheers, Ryan. Thanks, Barrage.
Nice, man. Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine just like anything, it's just scaling up. I mean, have you had any experience? I mean, there's always going to be different equipment to figure out, but after that,
Sure.
I mean, is there anything
Yeah,
outside of the
so
norm?
for me, you know, for me, I've worked on anything from a 15, a 7, a 10. You know, the smallest system I brewed on, I was pulling the old dogfish head. I was brewing on a Sabco 3 times in a day to make a barrel of beer, at the last place I worked at before I moved down here. And I mean, I personally think that the malt side scales pretty directly. So you can scale up if you just take your percentages for your grist and whatever. I think you can scale that pretty directly. The one thing where things get tricky starts to be on the hot side hop side, the hot side hop portion of things. Because when you're in 5 gallons at home and you turn that flame off, you start dropping temperature off of that kettle far more readily than you do at 100 gallons, than you do at 200 gallons, 500 gallons. As the size of that container gets larger, the larger your thermal mass. So you're going to be maintaining higher temperatures for longer. And typically, if you're cooling 5 gallons of beer at home, you can knock that out relatively quickly. And remember, when we are adding hops to hot wort, and that temperature where you're going to be generating bitterness with hops and hot wort is actually far lower than people realize. You're not going to be creating bitterness as quickly, but you're still going to be generating bitterness at cooler temperatures. So like a Whirlpool edition for me at home, I throw 3 ounces in 5 gallons. And then I turn my flame off and I start cooling it down. That's only going to have hot contact time of maybe 10 minutes or whatever. But when I whirlpool in my kettle at work, I whirlpool, pour the hops in, I spin it for 5 minutes. It has to rest for 20 before I start running that thing off through the heat exchanger to the kettle. So it can be 45 minutes where those hops are in contact with hot wort, especially the late hops, right? And so what you're going to find out, what you're going to end up getting is you might end up getting substantially more bitterness out of your late additions than you would expect. Okay. So in my mind, an easy hack on that is if you're thinking about your Whirlpool hops, calculate them as like 20-minute additions. And I think that may get you somewhere in the range of what you can be expecting IBU wise. But to me, that's the biggest. That's really the only difference with scaling up recipes by and large.
Duly noted. We're going to quiz you on that too, Ryan Sandberg. So I hope you wrote all that down. Well, hey, I know you got to get up at 5 in the morning. We've been doing this for almost 2 hours. Unless you want to keep going, man. I know that what is it, 1 hour behind? So if it's 10:45 my time, it's 9:45 your time. What time do you typically go to bed?
I'm usually in bed at 9:30.
Okay, and you got all 6 kids down?
Yeah, well they're down. Yeah, well I'm old enough. I got 2 that are out of the house already. So
oh,
yeah, but my oldest is turning 21, and I have a 1-year-old. I'm going to be a father of somebody under the age of 18 for 40 years.
You definitely have a Brady Bunch thing going on, like step by step, growing up, man. You got a packed house in there up in Cincinnati.
It's true.
Got a lot going on.
But now, if there's a couple more questions, I can do a couple more questions. I'll go to 11.
Cool. Yeah. Typically we've got I don't know if it's 71 people in here 2 hours in, but no, it's cool. It's good to have a commercial brewer on here because for starters, you brew way more than the average home brewer. You know, you've just had way more repetition. Sure. You know, I brewed last week. The last time I brewed before that was when my buddies came into town, Aliaz and Noam, and I was picking apart Marshall's stream last week, or whatever you want to call it, podcast. And he was talking about how he throws a lot of beer out just to make room. Not necessarily that it's a bad batch.
Sure.
But I was thinking like, damn, do I need to go there? Like I can't be, if I'm brewing more and I'm not drinking it, I pretty much have to be doing the brewlosophy approach and just throwing it out. But no, you brew.
But
how many batches of beer have you brewed? Probably like 300?
In my career?
500? Yeah.
In my career, no, probably at least 100 a year for 10 years. So I probably turned at least 1,000 batches of beer.
Yeah, so you've brewed in here by far more than anybody here.
Yeah, even potentially. Well, I'll tell you this. I think one of the biggest advantages of I think one of the things that you'll notice change the quickest when you are brewing for a living is the volume of raw material that we deal with and have exposure to. It really helps with your palate development. Okay, and understanding what flavors and aromas are coming from different places. So like when we were mashing the other day, Josh was on the brew deck, and Josh is a very laid back kid, and he's very quiet, super cerebral, really smart, nice guy. So, but when he gets up on the brew deck, he really loves that, and he starts coming out of his shell a little bit. So I always like giving him crap, and I always like telling him he's riding the big rig when he's up there. But Josh was up on the big rig, he was mashing in. And we had all this beautiful, it was our Hellas, so it was primarily Barca Pills from Wireman. And he wanted me to double check something. I went up there, and you just got hit in the face with all that big, gorgeous Pilsner malt, right? Like the intensity of the aromatics that go on in the brewery, they just inform your palate, man. And it really is, I think it actually, for me, it's done so much for me understanding my ingredients and everything like that, and even dumping a fermenter, like the volume of yeast that you deal with, you smell the yeast because you know when you dump it or whatever, like you're just immersed in those raw materials, and it's just so good for your capacity to understand beer and where the flavors and aromas are coming from.
I got a yeast question for you on a commercial level. I imagine do you even use dry yeast at this point? Will you use like a?
I do, yeah. Dry yeast is super. Is the way I use dry yeast. it's for a beer that I won't be repitching off of. So like some of our adjunct beers, like fruited beers and stuff like that.
Okay.
If I'm gonna be fruiting a beer, and I don't have yeast ready to repitch into that, I'll just use some dry, because I don't repitch beer that gets fruit or anything, or yeast that gets fruit or anything like that. So it'll just be a one and done.
I like that.
But yeah, I do use it, and it's great to have as a backup. And for me, I do a fair amount of lager, and so I like to, like, that's one thing. You have to treat that yeast really nice and take care of it and stuff like that. But sometimes you just need something that's going to get the job done, especially if you're doing a heavily adjuncted beer. Like we have a pina colada beer that uses real peanut, pineapple, and coconut in it. It's a big seller for us. That beer is like, if you can taste the yeast character on that beer, I'm not doing that beer right. Like the intensity of the pina colada thing should be outweighing the subtlety of whether I'm using
Sure.
dry 05 or dry 04, right? So, anyways, yeah.
As far as liquid yeast goes, how many? I don't know how many generations you'd use off one strain, but what's the longest you would let it sit? Like, would you let something sit for 2 months? Reason I ask is I just bought expired yeast that was expired in August, and I got nothing out of it, and I thought just like it would work because it was, I don't know, 200 billion cells or whatever. But as far as commercial brewery goes, what's, if you've got yeast sitting there, obviously within a month, I think you're probably okay. When's the cutoff? You're like, we just have to throw this out. This sat too long.
And so this is gonna, some of this is going to be personal opinion, and some
Because
of
this could
is
help
gonna
us
be,
homebrewers out.
is
Because
gonna-
like we can know like, hey,
Well,
if it's expired at a homebrew store, can we still get away
Sure.
with after 2 or 3 months?
Sure. So what I would say, speaking specifically to that, is when I was making beer at home, I was a huge fan of the little Erlenmeyer flask and going with the yeast starter. I think it's really, really big. So if you do have some older yeast, throw a little starter at it and see if you can get that boy bumped back up again. And that might be a good way. That might be a good way to go, to even kind of proofing the yeast a little bit, right? To see if you can get some activity out of it. What I tend to do is Imperial Yeast, who I love. Great people, great product. They don't sponsor me or anything. I love Imperial Yeast. They have a really well done series on yeast handling on their YouTube channel. And one of the things they'll say is, so for me, what I do is I ferment a beer, I cool it down so I can harvest the yeast. I'll usually harvest into a brink. I'm harvesting by weight. And then pushing that into another beer, usually same day. I try not to store yeast under pressure. Okay. A lot of times what people do is that they'll have the yeast in a brink, and then they'll have like a blow off hose that will go down into a bucket of Sani, because that pressure on that yeast is bad for it, right? And the flip side is you leaving beer on a yeast cake is also bad for that yeast cake, right? Because it is technically waste matter for them, right? So you do want that to keep that yeast working as much as possible. What I would say is if you're reharvesting at home, and it's been a little while, I would tend to try to throw a starter at it a little bit.
DME.
And make sure that it's doing its thing. But by and large, on the pro side, I would really not want to store anything in a brink for more than like 7 to 10 days, even when you're blowing down.
Okay,
pressure
duly
on it, 'cause
noted.
viability is going to be going down.
Duly
Viability
noted.
is going to be going down.
Appreciate that. What up, Trev? He's got a commercial brewery in here. Genus has a commercial brewery in here. Big shout out to Tombstone Todd, man. I haven't hit one of these all night. Wow. I don't know if they're working or not. Much love to Tombstone Todd. Gifted the 5 Hoppy Hour memberships. Much love, you, Braj. So there is, I don't know. What's up, It's Rec? How are you, buddy? There is 4 or 5 maybe people in here. I mean, commercial brewers / owners. So,
Sure.
at some point they're picking up what you're putting down. And I don't I mean, I've brewed 3 times this year, and I threw one of the batches out. It's going to be a little bit different next year, but I haven't reused yeast in a long time, just because I think that home brewing's just like, you know, for me, it's all about experimentation, and for the most part, maybe the new stuff. You always want to have like if you don't have a starter, hit it on the back end. Like have like the safe ale packets that,
Sure.
you know, if you wait 3 days or 2 days and nothing's going in your airlock and your activity, you could just throw the safe ale, SF or something. What's the pink one?
The 05 is more like the Chico American ale, and the 04 is like the British ale. Yeah.
And then the lager one, which is like from 55 to 65 degrees. It's safe ale. It's everybody uses it. It's the pink one. It looks like the pink Starburst. You could try to that.
I think it's like 3470 or something like that.
That's how I saved my batch. But then I put it in 2 different corny kegs, and I found out that I got them used from Northern Brewer. They sent them to me when they first came out here. And there's a leak in one of them on the right. The lids beat the shit, and I tried to play around with it every different way. But I have brewed before, and I'm sure you have too, where there's no activity in the airlock, but then you check the gravity and it did ferment. Has that ever? Sure. I call that the Houdini. So I've still got that on the right-hand side, and I was gonna do like a side-by-side taste contest with firming under pressure and not under pressure. But now I think this thing fermented. I'm gonna check it tomorrow. The one on the
if that thing dropped and maybe there's a leak in a gasket or something like that, and it wasn't like going through your airlock. Maybe it was going through.
It's the main lid. It's the main big lid in there. It's just I can look at it and it's just beat the shit.
Sure.
And I'm sure when these guys give me free shit, anybody, Clawhammer, Northern Brewer, it's probably the stuff that got sent back or the refund or like the stuff that didn't make the cut for the website, you know. I appreciate it all, and that's my bad for not. When you're buying old corny kegs like that, just buy the lids and the gaskets to replace them and stuff like that. The posts are going to be okay, but the little rubber things that go, the big one and the 2 on the gas in and the beer out gas in. I wouldn't use those from 10 years ago or however long that corny keg's been sitting. And it's tough to get corny kegs right now because you know who's using the corny kegs? You know who else is buying them?
Who's that?
It's all the coffee shops. All the
oh, really?
Yeah.
Like for nitro stuff?
Nitro stuff. I don't know if it's cold brew stuff or if it's
yeah, because they can do. I think they take like 160 psi, don't they? I mean, it's crazy high psi on some of those. At least the old school ones.
I looked at I went to a coffee shop today, the one that me and Aliaz went to, and I looked over there and I was like, whoa, that's like the exact same corny keg. It wasn't the pin lock. It was the ball lock. And I was like, this is why I'm not finding any of these things on OfferUp and Facebook, because these coffee shops are popping up more than breweries, and they're all everything. Like I can't even read the menu now. It's like drip or slow or nitrogen or this and that. They're buying the cornies too.
That's cool. Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah. So I got to go back to, it was just a weird brew day, but I love the Clawhammer system. Everything worked great. The pumps. I'm trying to do a no boil brew day. And I got to go get some CO2 tomorrow. I'll put it on, and I should have a video out next Wednesday.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one because if you can get away, and I'm sure you would never mess around with a no boil brew day. I mean, it would take forever too. You can't just put it outside overnight like how I could do that.
Sure. But
the most stressful part of the brew day for me was like just getting that wort cooled under 15 minutes, you know, and you have a pre-chiller and you've got a cooler with ice and you're dragging hoses through the whole house. If you could just get to a brew day, pull the grain basket out and set it outside, it takes away like half of it. Cleanup is half, and obviously like chilling it doesn't take a long time. Chilling was just the messiest thing for me. So, and I've got cold weather out here in Knoxville. Like Aliaz was in Austin. He did no chill. He could do ales, you know, but it gets colder here. I could put it outside overnight, and it could
Sure.
be, 50 degrees in the morning. And then from there, I would just put it in my keezer and temperature control it. But
Yeah, man.
yeah, home brewing, commercial brewing, it rolls over to each other. We're just using different stuff. His keezers are actually keezers that are for frozen hops. Ours are for temperature controlled chambers. Yeah. What's going on, James?
For sure.
Yeah. Well, 2 hours in, everybody. What do you guys say? Did you guys subscribe to his channel, Adam Makes Beer? It's in the title. It's in the description of this video. I asked him, what did he want? I said social media, YouTube, or link to his brewery's website, YouTube. Hard YouTube.
Yeah, and listen, and all that stuff is I'm Adam Makes Beer on Instagram, and
Everything's the same.
everything like that too.
To get you on.
Yeah, it's all Adam Makes Beer. And hey, I just wanted to say I wanted to say thank you, and
yeah, man, we'll do this
obviously
again.
the chat's super active. Thank you to all of you for
Thanks,
for the
Ron.
new subs. I would love to please hit me up with ideas, comments. Like I said, I'm trying to get better at it as I go. And then to you, man, this is very cool. I appreciate it. First of all, it was a good time. It's always it's one of those things when you get ready to do one of these things, you wonder how it's gonna go, and this was a lot of fun. This is a cool dude, and I feel like it was a good time. So
yeah, appreciate you coming on. The only bummer about this is I only do it 1 day a week. I want to get more people on. I wanted to get, me and all the guys that know him kind of created this weekly thing. We could just pop on. I know they've got good audio. I know they've got microphones and stuff like that. Brian hit me up and was like, hey, can I come on? I'm coming up on 40,000. I want to get everybody on, but it's like, I can't do this more than 1 day a week. I work 4 nights a week. I've got to edit. Typically we're getting smashed on this, but Wednesday is like my 1 day a week. We're like, I'm going to drink 6 to 12 beers. We're going to have a blast.
Yeah.
No, I think this was cool. And I don't even know if I need to drink on these things anymore, but we will. Oh, we will. If somebody donates or something, usually we do like an NBC or something. So that's why we're not drinking tonight.
Yeah.
But no, I want to give a shout out to everybody who's here. Everyone who, the memberships, Ryan, Tombstone Todd, and the guy before that, I'm sorry, but somebody else was pitched in on some memberships. I appreciate that. Obviously, everybody in the green, everybody who subscribed to Adam's channel tonight. And we'll do it again, and maybe we'll get Brian or Larry or some other brew tuber on here, and we could hang out. I know a lot of people don't mind it, and I know a lot of people don't like it. Like people go, I chimed into your thing and you had 4 people talking. I took off. Like I only like when it's one-on-one. I'm like, I get that, but that way I can get more people on and connect everyone together. So
yeah, man. And listen, let me know if you're ever going to be up in the Cincinnati area.
100%, man. And you're getting love right now in the chat. The Mildly Cool Dad just subscribed.
Awesome.
Chris Vodka subscribed. Ron Barnes subscribed. All cool. Mandatory water chug. No. So, yeah, I got to clean my house tomorrow. I got to do an oil change. I've got a backlog. I've got to go to work. I just wanted to do a sober stream. And this was fun, man. It's like my mom always said, you don't need to drink to have fun. She's never had fun, but I'm just kidding. But oh yeah, Northwest Small Batch Brewing, man. Thank you so much for the supporting people, the memberships earlier. And I think that Priyuk, thanks for subscribing to Adam's channel. I don't know where you want to take your channel, but are you just gonna put all your content on one channel for the time being? Keep it the way it's going?
Yeah, for the time being, it's
try it for a year.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll kind of reevaluate in May when we get there and kind of see where we're at with everything. So.
All right, man. Anything else, Adam?
Yeah. I think that's it, brother. Thank you so much.
This was fun. I'm gonna kill the stream right now. Everyone.